following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
Hello and welcome. You are watching News 9 Live. I'm Krishna Kumar. The Israel Defense Forces lost Sergeant Yaakov Ozeri from the 401st Armored Brigade in a fight against Hamas terrorists in the northern Gaza Strip. Ozeri hailed from Kfar Shammai in northern Israel. His death marks the 31st soldier to be killed since Israel launched a ground invasion in response to the Hamas attacks on the 7th of October. Israel's Defense Minister Gallant confirmed that Israeli forces are operating deep within Gaza City, which is Hamas's stronghold. He emphasized that Israel has no intention of ruling Gaza after the war, nor does Hamas. Gallant also warned Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah against attacking Israel, stating that that would be a mistake. Regarding Gaza's future governance, he stated that neither Hamas nor Israel would govern, leaving other possibilities open. Israel continues to urge Palestinian civilians to move to the south of Gaza for their own safety.
IDF forces are located in the heart of Gaza City. They came from north and south. They attacked in complete coordination between the ground forces, air and the sea forces.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has indicated that he may be willing to consider, quote-unquote, pauses in fighting in the Gaza Strip, either for aid or for the exit of hostages, but has again ruled out a ceasefire for now, despite international pressure. More details in this report. Take a look.
Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday seemed willing to consider pauses in fighting in the Gaza Strip, either for aid or the exit of hostages, but again ruled out a ceasefire for now, despite international pressure. Netanyahu was speaking with ABC News.
I know the Biden administration has also said now is not the time for a ceasefire. What they're proposing is a humanitarian pause. There will be no pause?
Well, there will be no ceasefire, general ceasefire in Gaza without the release of our hostages. As far as tactical little pauses, an hour here, an hour there, we've had them before. I suppose we'll check the circumstances in order to enable goods, humanitarian goods to come in, or our hostages, individual hostages to leave. But I don't think there's going to be a general ceasefire. It's not that I don't think. I think it will hamper the war effort. It'll hamper our effort to get our hostages out, because the only thing that works on these criminals in Hamas is the military pressure that we're exerting.
Blasts and flares lit up the sky over Gaza early Tuesday morning. It's now been more than 1 month since the Hamas raid on southern Israel, when militants killed 1,400 people and seized 240 hostages. Israel has bombarded the area since then. Gaza health officials say it has killed more than 10,000 Palestinians, including some 4,100 children. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Monday that Gaza is becoming a, quote, graveyard for children, calling for an urgent ceasefire. However, both sides have resisted international pressure to do so. Israel says hostages should be released first, while Hamas says it will not free them or stop fighting while Gaza is under assault. On Monday, the White House said U.S. President Joe Biden had discussed, quote, pauses and possible hostage releases in a phone call with Netanyahu, reiterating his support for Israel while emphasizing that it must protect civilians. Like Israel, the U.S. fears Hamas would take advantage of a full ceasefire to regroup. On Monday, Netanyahu was also asked about what happens when the conflict is over.
President Biden has said that it would be a mistake for Israel to occupy Gaza. Who should govern Gaza when this is over?
Those who don't want to continue the way of Hamas. It certainly is not. I think Israel will, for an indefinite period, will have the overall security responsibility, because we've seen what happens when we don't have it. When we don't have that security responsibility, what we have is the eruption of Hamas terror on a scale that we couldn't imagine.
International organizations have said hospitals like this one in Gaza City cannot cope with the wounded, and that food and clean water are running out, with aid deliveries nowhere near enough.
Meanwhile, more Americans are set to leave Gaza today, as confirmed by White House National Security Spokesperson John Kirby. He emphasized that the United States of America opposes any Israeli military reoccupation of Gaza post-conflict. Kirby also underlined that despite differences, Israel and the U.S. remain friends.
As you all saw yesterday, the President spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he certainly discussed the need to continue to try to accelerate and increase the amount of humanitarian assistance that's going in. He also talked about the importance of pauses in the fighting to allow for aid to get in, people to get out, and for hostages to be released. We'll keep that dialogue going, obviously, with the Prime Minister and his war cabinet. On the idea of people getting out, so we do expect more individuals to depart Gaza today via the Rafah crossing. To date, there's been over 400 U.S. citizens and their families who have been able to depart and have been seeking the assistance of our consular team at the embassy in Cairo. And in just the last 24 hours, about 96, so just under 100 U.S. citizens and family members were able to move across that border. And as I said, it's very fluid. We won't get the final count until the end of the day today because the day is still going on. But we do expect that there'll be more Americans to come out today.
On to some satellite images that reveal aid trucks lining up at Egypt's Rafah border crossing with Gaza, where severe shortages of food, medicine and fuel persist. Evacuations were halted after an Israeli strike on an ambulance. Egypt is urging increased aid and fuel flow and ensuring ambulance security. Images also captured people walking south from Gaza City along the Sal al-Din road and fires burning in the vicinity. It has been a waking nightmare since Avihai Brodat saw his wife and young children who were taken hostages by Hamas during the October 7th attacks. Joined by the family dog, he launched a one-man vigil that soon became a daily ritual for Israelis, calling on leaders for the release of the hostages. Take a look at this report.
It's been over 31 days of waking nightmare for Avihai Brodat. 31 days since he last spoke to his wife or saw his 3 young children, aged 10, 8, and 4 years old. 31 days since the October 7th attacks by Hamas on Israel, which kidnapped and took his family hostage.
It's been so long, I'm starting to lose it. I don't know in what situation they are in, health-wise, or if they're being fed, taken care of. So I can only hope that everything's all right.
Brodach's family was taken from one of the hardest hit communities, Kfar Aza. They were hiding in a safe room with their neighbor's daughter, whose parents were killed. He had gone outside to see if he could help stop the gunmen, but they got separated. At first, he thought everyone but his dog was killed before he received confirmation they were taken. He started camping with his dog outside the Israeli Defense Ministry with a sign to remind the military, "My family is in Gaza." Others have joined him in what's become a daily occurrence.
All day, this is what I'm doing. I talk to people and I tell them my story and my beliefs, and I just keep on going, and nighttime comes and I just fall asleep, Maybe I don't fall apart, but I just fall asleep, from all this. I get so tired. So I just wanted them to see, the decision makers, to know that I'm there and my family is held hostage. So whenever they make their big decisions, they think about me, and I think they are thinking about me right now. They can't ignore me.
After a month, Brodach is tired of protesting, but he says views of the war are changing.
I think it has changed a lot. You know, people did change their views on this conflict. Everybody just wanted vengeance at first. I don't think, they wanted retaliation, which is human, I guess, but I hope it ends, just a cycle that keeps going on and on. And I'm a part of it, and my kids and wife are a part of it. And they shouldn't be.
Sticking with the attacks on the 7th of October. Israel, a leading military power with one of the world's most efficient intelligence networks, was taken by surprise by the terrorists of Hamas from Gaza. It's important to analyze how Hamas was able to plan and carry out those attacks on the 7th of October and how they passed down the orders down to each and every single fighter. Guardian, the British daily, published a report on how Hamas carried out the October 7th attacks. According to the Guardian, the attack plan was drawn up by a handful of Hamas leaders. The precise plan was drawn up by Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Deif. Sources say the Hamas leadership abroad was unaware of the plan. The first orders went out before 4 a.m. Hamas fighters were ordered to attend morning prayers, and the orders were passed by word of mouth. They were told to bring weapons and ammunition, and instructions were passed down in a cascade, first to battalion leaders, and then platoon leaders and squad commanders. Now, the report says the final attack orders were written and given at 6 a.m. RPGs, sniper rifles, machine guns and explosives were handed over, and attackers were told to attack Israeli soldiers and civilians indiscriminately. As many as 3,000, including Islamic Jihad terrorists, crossed the fence. Each unit was given a separate target. They were given maps of the targets. One group was told to target undermanned Israeli military bases, attack civilians in their homes, ambush Israeli military on key roads and take hostages. The Hamas had also equipped some fighters with GoPro cameras. The attack was aimed at halting the normalization of ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia and undermining the Palestinian Authority. It was aimed at provoking a violent reaction from Israel. Shifting focus away from the Israel-Hamas war, the Russia-Ukraine war is having far-reaching impact on the Russian economy. In the latest, diamond traders in Belgium have been asked to boycott gems which have been brought over from Russia. This report tells you all about it.
Antwerp, Belgium, one of the largest diamond trading hubs in the world, has a Russia problem. It was only a few weeks after Russian troops invaded Ukraine last year when diamond firms in Antwerp started getting phone calls from international clients asking them to avoid using stones from Russia. That was no easy feat for diamond dealer Thierry Tugendhoff, who said about half of his rough diamonds used to come from Russia due to their high quality. But his company, T Diamonds, was forced to pivot and get its diamonds from somewhere else. Now, Western powers want to make the boycott official, with a formal ban on Russian stones. But Tugendhoff says the ban will only go so far.
China, which is a major consumer of diamonds, have absolutely no interest in that ban. India, which is also a major consumer of diamonds, they have no interest in that ban. I mean, they don't have no interest to know from where the stones are. It's never been the case. And most of Asia, there's no interest in that. They will buy and continue to buy Russian diamonds because they have no reason not to. It's available, the availability is there, and it's a little bit cheaper than non-Russian. So why would they stop?
Major Western jewelers, from Tiffany's to Cartier, have been keen to distance themselves from Russia's lucrative diamond trade. But a big hurdle with banning Russian diamonds from Western markets, which account for 70% of global diamond jewelry demand, is how to trace the origin of the stones. Small companies will struggle, says Tugendhoff.
We can do it because we've been working on traceability for the last 2 years. You should know that people who've been working with big brands, traceability is not something that comes out of the sky as of now. All the new the players in the industry who have not yet started with traceability are going to lag behind, for sure.
He said that not only would a full Western ban on Russian gems be costly for the industry, it could also take another year to fully implement.
Donald Trump has now complained of unfair treatment in a defiant and rambling performance on the witness stand, prompting the judge overseeing his New York civil business fraud trial to threaten to cut his testimony short. Take a look at this.
Fireworks on the stand at Donald Trump's civil fraud trial on Monday as the former president's testimony went off the rails in a case that could determine his future as a businessman in New York. Trump attacked both the judge and New York Attorney General Letitia James as he testified, complaining of unfair treatment.
This is really election interference. That's all it is. This trial is ridiculous.
Outside the courtroom, the frontrunner for the Republican nomination in the 2024 election again accused the judge and attorney general of being politically biased against him.
These are political operatives that I'm going to be dealing with right now. You have a racist attorney general who made some terrible statements.
James brushed aside Trump's attacks as distractions.
He rambled. He hurled insults. But we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets.
Under questioning about his company's accounting practices, Trump repeatedly clashed with Judge Arthur Engoron, who at one point told the former president, quote, "This is not a political rally. This is a courtroom." At one point, Engoron warned that he might remove Trump from the witness stand if he did not answer questions directly, asking one of Trump's attorneys, quote, "Can you control your client?" After clashing with the judge, Trump left the courtroom for a break, gesturing as if he was zipping his lips. Engoron has fined Trump $15,000 for twice violating a limited gag order that prevents him from criticizing court staff. The judge has already ruled that Trump's property estimates were fraudulent and will decide whether to impose hundreds of millions of dollars in fines and other penalties that could shrink his real estate empire. During his testimony, Trump acknowledged that his company did not provide accurate estimates of various property assets. But he said that should not matter because the estimates included language saying they might not be accurate and that the banks did not take them seriously. New York state lawyers argued in their lawsuit that the estimates were pumped up and misled lenders and insurers, earning Trump $100 million and exaggerating his wealth by $2 billion. The trial was originally scheduled to run through early December, but could wrap up sooner as the state calls its final witnesses. Trump's daughter Ivanka is due to testify on Wednesday, though she is not a defendant in the case.
In London's Courtauld Gallery, visitors wear special headsets to see how art affects their brains. The project by Art Fund shows that looking at something beautiful or intriguing art makes people feel happy.
So walking around, I've just been taking it in just like normal, and then seeing what it actually looks like on the screen is amazing, really, really, really good.
I think we all know that there's something that happens when we look at something that is beautiful or something that's intriguing, but what this is showing is the pattern of your brain waves when you see something that intrigues or inspires or creates an emotion.
In coastal villages of Belgium, the centuries-old tradition of horseback shrimp fishing is facing a challenge due to climate change. How so? This report tells you more.
On Belgium's far western coast, traditional horseback fishers are seeing firsthand how climate change is altering the ecosystem of the North Sea. They report catching less shrimp, but more weaver fish and squid, traditionally found further south.
We have less shrimp catch than we used to, but we also have more weavers and animal species that you didn't see here before, which come from the Atlantic as the water warms up.
The coastal village of Kirby is the last place in the world where horseback shrimp fishing is still practiced. Fishermen like Gunther von Bleu ride horses through shallow waters. As the horse walks, the chain drags over the sand and creates vibration that causes the shrimp to jump into the net.
The best period to fish for shrimps used to be from September until December, when it starts to freeze. What we see now is that we get the best catches later in the season. I guess that there is a link with the climate change, because the water and the temperatures we live in have warmed up.
That rise in temperatures has disrupted traditional seasons for the small horseback fishing community. NASA says oceans have absorbed 90% of the global warming that humans have caused in the last few decades. In the North Sea, surface temperatures have increased by around 0.3 degrees Celsius every decade since 1991. And while shrimp populations fluctuate during short-term changes like heat waves, some species traditionally found further south have now moved north into Belgium's warming waters. Ilyas Emouri is a marine ecology researcher at Ghent University.
So for some species we see higher abundances. For example, the weavers and the squid, like cuttlefish, they have been found to increase with the warmer water temperatures. For shrimp, we also see this trend, but these coincide with heat waves that have been observed to take place in the North Sea.
Other species have fared worse. North Sea cod populations, for example, have plummeted since the 1980s, which scientists attribute to rising sea temperatures and overfishing.
For me, this is quite alarming, because at this rate, we see that a lot of species cannot cope and either migrate or go extinct. And if species go extinct, our food web will be impacted, which has consequences for us.
And with that, a wrap here from my side. This is Krishna Kumar signing off. Keep it with News 9 Live.